the Spartans are not the only superhumans in the Halo universe. In truth, when you really think about it, superhumans in the Halo universe are strikingly more common than we give them credit for. Now, yes, the Spartans are the superpowered heroes of the UNSC. The Spartan 2s with the Master Chief at the front are widely heralded and celebrated for being the ones that won the war against the Covenant and kept humanity from being driven to extinction. The Spartan 3s are responsible for taking down high-priority targets that are tantamount to suicide missions, trading their lives for one of the most precious resources humanity needed during the height of the war: time. And when the Spartan 4s arrived on the scene, they arrived at just the right time to bolster humanity's weakened forces and guide us through the chaos and power vacuums that would follow the end of the Human Covenant War. Even the earlier Orion programs that was retroactively renamed the Spartan 1s laid the foundations upon which the Spartan programs were built, and indeed some of the Orions saw active service during the Human Covenant War, and in all likelihood outperformed every other soldier on the battlefield with the exception of the Spartans, but obviously due to the classified nature of the Orion program, that information never really came to light. They are the quintessential superheroes of the Halo universe. But of course, superheroes are defined by the very word super. They have to have something superhuman about them. And of course, with the Spartans, there's no real questioning what it is about them that make them superhuman. But there's something else that is overlooked so often, it's practically forgotten. Something unassuming, relatively subtle. And while it's been touched upon a few times in the lore, no one's really ever given any thought to this particular aspect of the Halo narrative and just how powerful it is. And don't mistake me here, what I'm talking about here is immensely powerful. It has the ability to turn practically any human being that possesses it into a superhuman. And no, it's not the heavily classified and restricted Spartan augmentations. It's not their incredible Mjolnir-powered assault armor. It's not any of their weapons. It's not any of their equipment or their vehicles. It's not even something innate and inbuilt into the human beings like the Spartans' near-perfect genetic profile that make them suitable for being Spartans. It's something so simple and so unassuming, yet so synonymous with the UNSC and likely the wider human civilization that it's been utterly overlooked. And yet we've seen it visually dozens and dozens of times in the games. We've heard about it dozens of times in the books. And we've seen its effects dozens of times. And now I'm going to stop beating around the bush and explain to you in this episode of Lore and Theory why the neural implant makes a superhuman out of anyone who has one. This one's quite a fun one. Roll the intro. Now, I'm not expecting you to just accept what I've just said at face value. You're obviously going to want some evidence to support this rather brazen and bold claim that for some reason the neural interface is so powerful of a tool that it makes a superhuman of anyone who has one. But in order to do that, we first need to actually touch base on the different types of neural interfaces that are around and exactly how they function before we can really get to grips with just why and how they are so powerful. As far as we're aware, the most common neural implant is given to every UNSC soldier at enlistment and has a built-in IFF transponder. Now, we need to be clear here, we're talking about brain surgery with a sophisticated brain-computer interface device. The chip itself holds identifying information that it can broadcast over a peer-to-peer encryption key connection. This basically means that the unique identifying information that's held on the chip cannot be decoded by anybody unless they have the associated decoding key that will likely be stored on their own neural interface identification friend or foe transponder. Anyone who intercepts this signal and does not have that key will receive a jumble of unintelligible data, and any likelihood of decoding that would be astronomical as far as odds go. However, the basic neural chip goes a little bit further than that. We've already identified, specifically in the cutscene that shows the final moments of Private Wallace A. Jenkins, that the neural chip also in some way or another directly connects to the individual's vital signs, likely monitoring blood pressure, blood oxygenation, heart rate, and brain activity. We know this because the mission camera that's built into all Marine helmets that record what's going on around them at any given time and stores it on the data chip held within the helmet feeds biometric and identifying information directly from the IFF transponder. It wouldn't make sense for Jenkins' bucket to be purposefully programmed for him when he has a chip in the back of his head that has all the identifying information, and then the computational system on the helmet just has to read that information. Otherwise, every single Marine helmet in existence, and believe me, across all of human-controlled space at humanity's peak, would have been hundreds of thousands of helmets, would have had to be uniquely programmed to the individual. That doesn't make a lot of sense, especially for the sakes of mass production. However, having an IFF transponder implanted into all of the Marines at enlistment that have their identifying information, biometric information, and vital signs accessible via that interface makes much more sense. And we know this is the case because Private Wallace A. Jenkins' helmet identified that it was in fact Private Wallace A. Jenkins wearing that helmet and displayed it on the mission cam view. And in addition to this, when he was incapacitated by the flood, because he wasn't killed by the flood unfortunately, when he was incapacitated, the helmet systems had detected that his biosigns were either erratic or had flatlined, and his brain activity was unusual, and then reported on this unusual state in the closing moments of the helmet cam footage, displaying the message unexpected halt, WND, which stands for wounded, /incap, meaning incapacitated, /KIA with a question mark, because it wasn't entirely sure as to whether or not he had been killed because his brain activity was still active. It just wasn't normal brain activity, because the flood infection form that was taking him over was invading his mind. But alas, I can already hear you say that doesn't make a person superhuman. And you're right, it doesn't. But it already does go considerably further than practically any other brain-computer interface that's ever been developed in our real world, as far as its level of invasiveness into our physiology is concerned. But again, this is just the baseline, this is the simplest neural interface, and it is implanted into every single UNSC personnel at enlistment. But again, it is the simplest version, but provides the foundation upon which it can be upgraded to significantly increase its functionality and utility to the user. This neural implant can be upgraded to the CNI, or the Command Neural Interface. This upgrade is reserved for officers of the UNSC. We've seen that shiny metal port on the back of the skull of Lord Hood in Halo 2 Anniversary on more than one occasion, and that's exactly what we're talking about. The standard neural interface isn't visible from the surface of the skin, it's implanted into the base of the skull, and could very likely be the small port that we see on the skulls that we find around the campaign levels in the earlier games. The command neural interface, however, is visible from the surface of the skin, because it provides significantly more functionality, which includes the neural lace, which is a string of semiconducting filament that stretches deep into the midbrain of the host and directly interfaces with the cerebral cortex at numerous locations so as to enhance memory recall, cognitive retraining, learning, peripheral perceptions, the subconscious. But it doesn't stop there. It's not just a one-way system, it's a two-way system. The host can think about an individual, and a communications line will open to that individual. This is along the same lines as radio-assisted telepathy, assuming the two individuals that are attempting to communicate to each other have something approximating a cochlear implant, or maybe just a simple communications device that they can hear and speak through. The two individuals will be able to communicate to each other via thinking about each other alone. However, it could go even further than this. We don't know the true extent of the command neural interface, but it's entirely possible that the neural lace touches aspects of the brain to do with speech, and perhaps even the auditory system. If this is the case, then with the assistance of an external computer, whether that be the computer aboard a ship or within a UNSC facility, or one that the individual just carries in their pocket nearby, similar to a smartphone, not only would a person be able to think about another person and open a secure line to them, they'd be able to talk to them and interact with them without actually talking out loud. The computer system itself would recognize the patterns within the person's brain of specific speech patterns, replicating that speech pattern into a spoken voice, transmitting it wirelessly to the recipient, where it is then decoded and then assembled into an auditory signal that is channeled directly to the auditory centers of the brain, meaning the recipient would hear the sender's voice within their own head. This isn't entirely unheard of in the Halo universe, given that Cortana and the Chief, when they are directly interfaced with each other via the neural interface in Chief's helmet, can hear Cortana's voice both in his helmet speakers and within his own mind. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here, we'll look at that shortly. Going back to the command neural interface and its neural lace, it doesn't just stop at being able to communicate almost telepathically via the assistance of radio waves with another person. Captain Keyes in Halo CE makes it abundantly clear that Cortana can upload information to his neural lace. This means that new information and data can be uploaded to the command neural interface at will, and the recipient of that information immediately understands that information that has been uploaded. This is effectively instant learning, in a similar fashion to what we saw in the Matrix movies, where Neo could have his neural port connected to a computer and basically be trained in all of the martial arts in seconds. And again, it goes two ways. If there is unique information within the mind of the host, they can, at will, download that information from their brain to a storage medium, which can then be uploaded into another computer or transferred to another person. And this is again brushing over the fact that with something like a command neural interface, in the right kind of circumstances, with the right kind of technologies around you, you could basically control most of the world around you by thought alone. The final version of the neural interface we're aware of is the Spartan neural interface. Now this one is a step up again from the command neural interface. It has all of the major features of the original neural implant, the IFF transponder and the connection to the vital signs, biosigns and brain activity. It has all of the features of the command neural interface, the ability to upload and download information to the brain, open communications to people you merely think about, and control any smart or intelligent devices nearby with thought alone. But the Spartan neural interface goes a step further again, and adds an additional filament of semiconductors that stretch into the motor cortex, which in the Spartans' case allow them to control Mjolnir-powered assault armor solely by thought alone. So they no longer have to physically move their bodies in order to move the suit, they can simply think about moving, and the suit will move. It is at least then hypothetically possible that we could have a situation not unlike we see with RoboCop, where basically just a brain being kept alive can control a suit of Mjolnir armor. So they are, broadly speaking, the three major versions of the neural implant that are available in the Halo universe, but that is almost exclusively to the UNSC. But an interesting point to add here is that all of these neural devices, generally speaking, once they're implanted, cannot be removed without significant risk of brain damage or killing the host. And as far as we're aware, the neural interfaces have been in use with the UNSC for the better part of a couple of centuries. So even with that statistic alone, there must be hundreds of thousands of people who are walking around their day-to-day life that are not in active service with the UNSC who have extremely sophisticated neural interface systems built into their brains. And that's assuming that similar technology to this doesn't exist for the civilian market. So now, let's summarize exactly how and why these neural interfaces make a person superhuman. Well, first and foremost, as we mentioned earlier, these brain-computer interfaces allow individuals to communicate to other individuals via what is effectively radio-assisted telepathy, and if the neural implant itself touches the right parts of the brain and interface in the right way with a two-way connection, that individual wouldn't even have to speak out loud to communicate to the other person like we do now on our phones. Two people with these interface devices could think about each other and then almost immediately be able to hear the voice of the other person in their own head. These kinds of devices would allow you to control the world around you at will, as long as the devices in your world are smart linked and enabled. Basically, in kind of a super advanced Alexa, you could go home and think about the lights being turned on and they would turn on. You could think it's a little too cool in your home, the heating would turn on. Think it's a bit too hot, the air conditioning turns on. You go to the fridge and realise you don't have anything for dinner. Your computer in your home could order you takeaway. You could be woken up in the morning via an alarm clock in your head. You could send and receive phone calls without ever opening your mouth. You could have information streamed directly to your brain. The day's news could be uploaded to your brain as you're getting ready in the morning. Dependent upon the type of industry that you work at, you could be receiving critical information about your job or clients or whatever it is that your day-to-day involves while you get ready in the morning. If a new field of study opens up in your particular field and you need to learn that information to stay on the cutting edge, you can upload that information to your brain and learn it instantly. But again, onwards from that, in a very Matrix-esque kind of way, if you wanted to learn how to quickly assemble and disassemble a weapon, you could do that. There could be an entire market, an entire industry, almost like an app market, for data that you can upload to your brain to teach yourself information instantly. Hypothetically, you could become a martial arts master in an afternoon. You could learn how to create improvised explosive devices through black market downloads. You could learn sensitive information about corporations, governments, or individuals. You could store critical information to your brain and download it as and when you need it. Indeed, important information held within your brain could be sought after by criminal enterprises. You could be held hostage and forced to think about whatever information it is that they want, so they can harvest it from your brain onto a data chip so they can upload it to their own and steal that sensitive information. And with all these enhanced abilities of being able to learn and create, what's stopping you from creating powerful war robots and then controlling them with your mind? The neural implant that all UNSC personnel receive at enlistment is the foundation upon which all neural implants above that can be built. The command neural interface quite clearly outperforms any brain-computer interface we have either on the market or in the near or distant future in our real world. And with the continued automation and digitization of our world, a person with an ability to interface with that world on the cerebral level will always be 10 steps ahead of anybody else. The neural implant is basically a transhuman device, a device that enables the human mind to become more than human, a device that could allow you to hack systems with your brain, communicate telepathically with your friends, hold sensitive information for ransom in your own brain, control automated and robotic systems, and learn practically anything you want, almost instantly. We've seen evidence of it time and time and time again in the books in the Halo universe and in the games, and yet it's been overlooked as being quite possibly one of the most world-changing and powerful tools a human can use. And that's only considering what a human being alone can do with that kind of a neural interface. It could go significantly deeper than this. This is a very surface level look into the neural implant. Imagine the possibilities of a human being who has a neural interface and an AI within their mind. In a world of continued automation, that individual would be the machine god. And until next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider smashing the like button and leave a comment below on what you'd like me to cover next. Big shout out to my patron Spartan 10148, the Metarch of my installation.
Falcon, Prophet Bear, Mikhail, Sophia, and Ashley, my dutiful monitors. Darian, Scarab, Spartan 0137, Anthony, Ghost, Aaron, Chris, Jacob, Sean, Element Zero, Somatic, Jordan J3, Dan, Mr. Keys, Directal, Gunslinger, Jacob, Bandmill, Echo, Evermore, Officer Cat, and Personal Devil, my diligent sub-monitors, my fleet of Strato Sentinels, and my loyal enforcers. And all the other patrons who have jumped aboard to support the channel. It means more to me than I can accurately put into words. Another shout out to my Tier 0 Transcendent YouTube members, Spartan137, Jacob, Schmitty, Talia, Fenrir and Born Stella, and all the other YouTube members keeping my installation running on that glorious vacuum energy. Shout out to John for I don't fucking know. And if you want more of this kind of content, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you don't miss any future videos, and consider jumping aboard yourself as a patron or YouTube member to keep the channel alive and kicking. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.